Our Lord and Master Jesus, we thank you this morning. We thank you for the privilege you've given us. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for how far you've brought us in this training. Lord, today being the final day, Lord Jesus, we pray that you take us through this day safely. Let everything that we've learned here, when we go back to our various homes and countries, let us put it into practice and help make Ghana and our whole world a better place. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you so much. Kiki, so today we'll do the recap. Okay, thank you. Okay, so for our first session, we would have Moss take us through setting up AWS account, how to store and access data, and automated processes, hosting, visualization, and then dashboards. So Moss is a skilled software developer with a BSc degree in software engineering and over 5 years experience creating impactful digital solutions. She's a key contributor to the Afri-SET project at the Kigali Collaborative Research Center, and she's been leveraging her expertise in software and mobile development while she designs and implements advanced data analysis tools that help experts better understand air quality retrieved data from sensors, generate actionable insights, and develop solutions to enhance environmental sustainability. She's also the web developer for the Afri-SET project and KCRC. Throughout her career, she has applied her expertise to digitize processes across diverse sectors, creating scalable, efficient, and sustainable systems that drive progress and impact across Africa. And for her full name, I think she'll be the best person to say it for me. So in that regards, I refer to her as Moss. Welcome.
Thank you. My names are Mfuranziza, Sekata, Aimelyse, Moss. But you can call me Moss. I know the other names are really hard, yeah? Mfuranziza, Sekata, Aimelyse, the people who speak French, Aimelyse, then Moss. But you can call me Moss. I know Mfuranziza and Sekata, it's a bit hard for you. Yeah. So, today we are going to go through AWS and learn more how it works. Thank you very much. So let's start. For today, we're going to go through Amazon Web Services, which is AWS. Most of you maybe have interacted with it before, or others haven't heard about it. So you will get an overview about how it works exactly. So those who raise their hands that they have created an account, of course they have created an account knowing what they're going to deal with, yeah? So I'm seeing some people raise their hands yesterday, so they are going to tell me what they think of AWS.
Okay, so Amazon Web Services or Amazon Web Server is a cloud storage space that you can pay for their services, and they give you the platform to host data online. So from your home, you don't need your own server. You just simply need to store your data on the web, and anytime you need it, you could access it from their server. And some of the special features is that it also gives you the chance to be able to analyze any data that you store on the platform, just as you could do with Google Sheets or some other services. Yes, so.
Well, very nice answer. As he was defining Amazon Web Services or what it does, he mentioned a word, cloud services. So what do you guys think of when you hear a word cloud services? I need any hands. Yes.
Thank you. It's about storage of information and how to fetch IT information from the cloud.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Virtual storage.
Yeah, virtual storage. Thank you. That's actually a very good word we could use, virtual storage. So without taking too long, since you guys want to know more about AWS, it's more of a cloud computing solution. So basically, it started as a virtual storage, as you said. So when we say virtual storage, we normally have local servers. I know you're all familiar with servers. Or maybe let me give you an example. A server, take it as a big SD card, because an SD card is a memory card where you store your data. So basically, we normally used to do it in not a very digitalized way, where we had local servers where we store our data, but now it's way more digitalized and advanced. You can store your data online. Most of the people, you guys are familiar with Google Drive. So take Google Drive. It's not really exactly Google Drive, but it's part of. It works like Google Drive. I know you're familiar with Google Drive, yeah? So yeah, AWS is it has a lot of services. It's not more basically to store data, but that was the main intention for AWS. So our fellow, he said that it's more for storing data, but basically it has a lot of big services you could use, but the main content of AWS is how to deal with data. Store data, access data, maintain data. So, why cloud computing with IoT? I don't want you to read that. What do you think? Since you all now know what cloud computing is, and we've defined a virtual storage, we've defined the cloud services, why would we need cloud computing solutions with IoT? Or maybe the things we're dealing with, sensors, yeah. I need some engagement. Yes.
To have an integrated system, and also to have an easy access or remote access to various facilities.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good one. Another. Oh, so that everybody was going to say that? Yeah, so let's look about the importance of having cloud computing in IoT. So we have a scalable storage. With these remote servers, or with the virtual storage as you mentioned, we have big space. We're not really limited with about storage. So basically, since you're using AWS, you don't have to worry about how big your data would be. You just have, if you have sensors, you want to get data and you want to store it, you don't have really to worry about the memory, the storage. And also, we have real-time and real-time for data analysis. So since you're able to access data very easily, it helps you, and they have a lot of tools that can help you monitor and analyze your data. So with AWS, there is a lot of services that they offer for you. You don't have to write a lot of codes or this and that. You just have to put your data there, and after some automated process, you can analyze your data. So it's really important, since we'll be dealing with sensors. That means that you don't have to, some people, they don't have to do a lot of work of coding. So, I mean, you're especially in analyzing data, but you're not more of a programmer or a developer. So that is very important for you to have. And also we have global access. So for AWS, since it's a remote storage, everybody in Rwanda, Ghana, Kenya, US, India, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire could access the data. So basically, as long as you have privilege or permission to access the data, you are able to access the data. The reason why this is very important is that normally with local servers that we used to have, it was really hard to set up so that maybe somebody who is not in your local network could access your data. So the global accessibility is something which is a plus. And also we have a lot of services, as he mentioned, a lot of integrations, capabilities, so you are able to integrate that with your solution and you could get more of your work. And also we have data protection. Data protection is very important because, I mean, without our data being protected, we'll be doing nothing. So with AWS and also some other cloud computing solutions, they provide that, the data protection. So there is a lot of features or services that AWS provide, but these are the main ones. So we have Elastic Compute Cloud. It's more of a server. We have storage solution, for example, S3 or EBS, and also database services for storing your data, which is more of a relational database, and also they have the dynamic DB like MongoDB. For the relation database, we have more Postgres, SQL, MySQL. You're all familiar with that. And also, they have also added a machine learning feature which works like, you know how Jupyter works? You don't have really to have a very environment or having a hard time setting up the environment so that you could run the codes. I'm pretty sure that we went through how to use Jupyter with gems. So they have also that part in SageMaker. So SageMaker, you could do more of Jupyter codes, but doing it online so that it's still up even if you shut down or you log out your account. So basically, the more important thing about this is like for Jupyter, when you shut down the terminal, it stops running. But for AWS, you are able to go to sleep and your codes are still running. So that's an advantage. Also, we have the security and identity. With AWS, as an organization, you could use it and add user with certain permissions and privilege so that they could still interact with your work, or maybe you have your work you want to share. For example, if we're here in a, we have me, we have Nancy, we have Mathias, maybe they're the admins, but you guys are the normal users. So with that, you're going to be able to access data as a normal user, but I also have the privilege of an admin, so that's what it does. And also we have application services. With this, it's more made for people who don't want to code or doesn't want to do a lot of work coding. You do some functions and you want them to run. You just add them in AWS and they're just up without you setting a lot of environment. Yeah. So we're going to set up.
But my friend I probably to use now. They will not get away for good dispute it. Now let them say.
Sorry. Sorry. Oh, it's someone online. Sorry. Yeah. Was it a question? Oh, okay. Sorry. So we're going to set up an account. I am going to share with you the URL in WhatsApp group. I've sent the link in the WhatsApp group. That is the link. Go there, and I've created a video for you for guidance. We can first watch it and then I walk through the process, yeah? So if you have a link, I'm pretty sure that you're able to see the screen like this. Have you all accessed the link? Those who doesn't have the link, please let us know. Have you accessed the link, please? Okay, so let's continue. So you go to sign in the console. You click. So I basically had an account. That's why you saw that. And yeah, create an account. Is everybody? Oh, it's still loading. To sign, you'll see, yeah, sign in the console. You'll see it and then click on it. Down the form, you'll see where there is create an AWS account. Yeah. Sorry? It's still loading. Yeah. Are we on the same page? Yeah, create an account. Does anybody have a question? Okay. So yeah, you can use your normal email or any other email that you want to use if you don't want to use your main email. And yeah. If there is anybody struggling, I am here to help. Yeah. So here I chose the name for my account name. And they've sent me a verification code. Yes. Sorry? Yeah, any name you want, but I prefer you use your actual name. Yeah. So I created my password. Yeah. So when you've done creating your password, you click next. Don't worry, I didn't put my password there. Yeah. So is everybody done? Okay. Are you done? Everything good? Okay. So maybe let's have some 30 seconds for everybody to have their account verified, and then we continue to creating the password. For those who already had an account, if you want to create a new one, it's still okay, but if you forgot your password, because they have changed some of the features, it might be a bit hard, but you can recover your account. Yeah. Are you done? Loading. So I guess everybody now, they have created the password. They're on the step of adding the Visa card or any payment card. Yeah. So I sent a message in the WhatsApp group that you have to come with your card. But don't worry, they're not going to charge you. Sorry? It's still okay as long as you know the whole information there, it's true.
Okay.
Yeah. The only time that they block you is when maybe the name on the card and the card itself is colliding. Even for the billing address, you can add your name, but the card's information, you could keep it the way it is on the card. Yeah. Even if you might see a transaction of $1, they still put it back. But for registering, they don't charge at all. Yeah. So here I chose personal, but those people maybe who are working on projects and they are going to have a lot of more people interacting with the platform, then you could go for business. But the only disadvantage with business, it has a lot of features as an organization, but when it comes to charging, you get it. Yeah. So put my name there and everything. Yes, and after that was done, I verified also my phone number. Does anybody, are we the same page? Yeah. So yeah, for business account, you don't have really this. But for the personal account, because they know a lot of people, they're not really developers, you can add the developer support or business support. So for now, we can use free, since we don't really need, yeah. So, do we have any questions or any? Were you guys able to log into your dashboards? Yeah, those who have signed in the dashboard, congratulations. And those who are not yet in the dashboard, please let me know. Yeah, you've done it. Sorry? So I guess we both can see the same screen. Let's move forward. Yeah, those who have made it to the dashboard, congratulations. So let's go to the dashboard. So this is what you should normally see on the dashboard. For mine, it's in the dark theme, but others it's in white, so it doesn't really have to be dark. Yeah. Yeah, so we're done with the registration. You should also receive an email about confirming your sign up. So let's continue with our yeah, so well done to those who have. Yeah. So we are going to see our next service, which is Simple Storage Service, and it's provided by AWS. I'll share also the link, but basically we are going to practice how to interact with Simple Storage Service. How it works, it kind of works like Google Drive because it's more of storage. But it's very simple to use. You can access data, you can upload their data. There is a lot you can do with it, but it's really good with storing files. And the data security also, it's very perfect. So we are going to go in our dashboard. Let me share my screen. The dashboard. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see my dashboard. So we're going to interact with the S3, which is a simple storage service. You will click here, the menu here. I hope you can see where I'm clicking. I hope you can see where I'm clicking. Then we click on S3. It loads, and then you create the bucket. Let's repeat the process. They will suggest you the recent visited or maybe the mostly used ones. You will click on S3. I hope everybody is seeing S3. No? Okay. So if you're not seeing S3, please scroll down here to storage. Click here on storage. Scroll down to where there is storage. Can you see where the storage is? Okay. So you could see the listed services they provide. We have AWS backup. We have the S3, the EFS, and also Elastic Disaster Recovery. Yeah, so we'll have to go for S3. I hope everybody is now seeing an S3 in the dashboard. You click on it, it loads. Oh, sorry. For me, I already created one, so I'm pretty sure that for you guys, you don't have any. So you go here in this corner to the button of Create Bucket. So for bucket, there are more of the like folders, but folders that are going to be the main for allocating the files that you're going to store. Yeah, so basically, if we have like a university, we have different departments. So buckets, we could say that there are departments, and in those departments, we have different classes, which are the files that we're going to create. So I hope that example gives you, a clue about it. So a bucket, you click on Create Bucket. One thing you should be careful with every service you're going to use, it's going to depend on a region. Here, in my dashboard, you could see I chose Europe, London. How this works is that if you choose a far region, that means accessing data is going to be hard for you at some point. For example, I don't know if I'm good with some longitude and latitude thing. I feel like Europe is kind of near to us more than US. Yeah? Yeah. So that's why I have to choose London. I mostly work with London since I'm based in Rwanda. That's the nearest one. But if I had one in Africa, I would have chosen it. So for people who are staying in US, you could use among Virginia, Ohio, California. For those who are in other continents, you have what to choose. But for us, the ones that work really perfectly, sometimes is this and also London. But let's go with London since, yeah. So make sure here you have selected the region correctly. It's here on top where you could see your name. You could also select the region. Do we all have the same region or maybe corrected one? I hope you all have chose the right one. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a bucket. Within a bucket, you'll see where your bucket is based, which is London, and the name of your bucket. I'll call it second because I've already created one. Yeah. So what we're going to do, for blocking public access, we're going to disable it because we want to access without any hindrance. We can enable bucket versioning, and let's create our bucket. So you can see I've already created the bucket. Most second. Have you all created the bucket? King AWS registration. Oh, please verify. I redo the whole process? Okay. Let me create another one. So basically what you have to fill, it's this first, and scroll down, you disable public, block all public access, you check this, then enable bucket versioning, then you create your bucket. Yeah. Any questions? So yeah, since we're done creating our bucket, let's go ahead and interact with it. Here you can upload any type of file that you want. It's either PDF and a CSV file, an Excel file, a Word file, any type of document, any image. So you could interact with it. So for uploading, we're going to do it manually here, and we select add files. Maybe let me add let me add this file. You upload it. So this is the process of uploading it manually, but also if you're dealing with data, there is a way you can upload. You just generate maybe your PDF or an Excel file, and they have some gateways that you use to upload files and also read. Yeah, any type of file. Images, PDF, any document, you can upload it. So yeah, you could see that the process went successful. Let's close it. Let's go and check if we have it in our bucket. This
So-
is most second, and then here we have our file. But accessing this as other people want to access this, I need to first configure some settings. So let's go and configure settings for our bucket. So basically we have the bucket policy. The bucket policy here, you need to mention sorry? Oh, okay. So let me repeat this. You click on the bucket. So for other people to access your files or data, because this data is really protected, for them to access it, you need to configure some permissions. So basically you click on the bucket, you could see objects, properties, permission, matrix, management, and access point. What you will need to do is click on permissions. You'll see a lot of settings in terms of permissions. Permissions overview, block public access, you already disabled that. And we have bucket policy, we have different policy, and also we have cross-origin resource sharing policy too. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share with you for each policy. For bucket policy, let me find the codes. So this is the for bucket policy. I hope you all have seen the code. So what you do, if you've seen the code, you just copy it and come here to edit. So when you click on edit, it shows you where you can add the code. But what we're going to do, where there were Afri-SET files, you're going to put the name of your bucket name, which is most second. Yeah. So by this, we mean that anybody from any IP address is going to can read, but cannot create under your bucket. So giving them a permission to read, but not create any, or maybe add files, because at some point you don't want your bucket to have files that are from somebody. So, but you're giving access to them to view it. So it's like giving a privilege of getting an object, viewing it, read only. So yeah, after that, you save changes. So after saving changes, somebody could be able to view your file. Let's continue also with cross-origin resource sharing. You edit. Let me give you the code. copy it and paste it here, then I save. With this, the file that I have uploaded in my bucket, anybody from any IP address is able to access it. But without configuring this, nobody could be able to access it. Any questions, please? Do we have any question, or I have to redo the process? So basically what I did is setting the permissions to the people that I want to access it. By default, when you upload a file, or maybe you set up a bucket, it's not accessible. So what I did is configure some policy for both cross-origin resource sharing and also for bucket policy, that everybody who is going to have access to my bucket could do read-only, like viewing files only, but they can't upload on my bucket. An example that I've used before, buckets, they're like departments in university. So by default, departments, you can't join them easily. But with the permission that I did, now I'm able to join that department. I hope now it's understandable. Yes, that's the context. The second, you just go on the bucket, permission, and then you scroll down until you see cross-origin resource sharing. Yeah. Yeah. So with this, I'm able to view my object, but also I can share the link to anybody and they can view my file. Please, if you have a number of your friend and you already uploaded the file, please share it with them so that you could see if they can view it.
Hello, Moss.
Yes.
Under the bucket policy, you said to change the Afri-SET to the name of your bucket
name.
So that's the only changes that you will do?
Yeah, the only thing that you do.
Okay, thank you.
If you want them to also be able to upload to your bucket list, where there is get object, you do another statement for creating object or write object. But now let's do get object. Please remember to change where there is Afri-SET / files to your bucket name. So since copy and paste in WhatsApp can add some errors, let me create a Google Doc right now for me to add the codes there so that you could do copy and paste very easily. Access that file, then you'll do a simple copy and paste from the doc, then it will be more easy for you. Yeah. Those who are done with setting the policy, Okay, so those who are done setting up their file, their permissions policy, when you click on your file, you'll see all the details about your file and you see object URL. So you will copy this. This is the link you should share. I hope you can see it. Yeah. So since we're done with the S3, let's try application services, which is Lambda.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, sorry, I was having issue accessing the code initially. But I'm not the code, I'm having some error message. I don't know which modification you did to the original code for me to easily copy from WhatsApp and paste. Or if it is possible for you to copy and paste it on the chat area of the Zoom, maybe that would have been easy for me.
Yeah, that's why I've shared the document file in WhatsApp. You could access it on Google Docs. You'll see the codes there. Since copying from WhatsApp, it's a bit having some errors.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So this is the document. If you can't access it, please let us know. That's why I'll be copy and pasting the commands. So since we have interacted with simple storage service, let's go with application service. With this, you can create functions that can read files, and you could do a lot with it, and you can interact with it. So let's go through it. It's called Lambda. So for those who are not able to view it in the menu exactly, you can scroll down to compute, and then you'll see the list of features, which are EC2, and you could scroll where you could see Lambda. So let's go on Lambda. I've already created one. So, as I said, with Lambda is more of application service. You can create functions, and those functions you can call them maybe in your normal application. Maybe it's another language, you want to do a function of it in another language and you're using another programming language. This is good for you, because you can create independent functions without having to set up the whole environment, but doing the independent functions. So let's create. Are we all on the Lambda, please? Are we there? Are we all on Lambda, please? Okay, so how to get the Lambda? You click here on the one that we got S3 from. You go where there is compute, you click on it, and you'll see the list of the services. I hope you all can see Lambda. Yeah? So you click on it. I hope you have an empty list. Yes. Have you navigated to Lambda? Yes, it should look like that. So those who doesn't have already function created, you could see that they're welcoming you to the AWS Lambda. So go where you see create function. Click on it. Yeah. So you can name your function any name that you want, but also you can choose any language. Here we have .NET, we have Java, we have Node.js, we have Python, we have Ruby, we have Amazon Linux, which I haven't really seen people use. Yeah, but let's go for Python. Can you all see? Yeah. So you can name your function the way you want. Session already, create. So here they have different options. You can write it from scratch. You can they can give you also some sample code, like templates, according to what you're looking for. And also you can have an image for Docker where you want to deploy your function. So, but for now, let's write it from scratch. But please, if you have time, you can explore for the blueprint, please, which are more of a sample codes. Create a function. So if you have created the function, I hope this is the dashboard that you're seeing. So here what we're going to do, let's do a simple example of how you can use this function and pass some data in it and read it. So we're going to do just simple my name. So how it works, when you've passed values in the function, you read it from the event. So basically we're going to say event, then event, it contains a key which is called name. And here we're going to say hello. Hello, my name from Lambda. Let's do this simple example. So when you're done writing this, you deploy your function, which is here. Can you? Oh, I'm really sorry. Now you can see it, yeah? So this is normal Python. Those who are familiar with Python, this is very simple. So basically, this is a very independent function where it reads from the event. So basically, you can pass your values from in an event. You're going to see it, and you can read them from here. So this is the code. Please write it, and we move forward. So if you're done writing.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I was a bit behind and you left me while creating the permission. So I don't know where you move next to go to the Lambda.
corner of where we went through going to the simple storage service. In the corner, you will see where they can list the menu. Here.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes, I've opened that one.
So click where there is compute.
Okay.
And then you'll see the list of services you provide. Then you click on Lambda.
Okay.
Yes. After clicking on it, since you don't have any functions created, you'll see them welcoming you to AWS Lambda function. Then you'll see where there is create bucket.
Create a function.
Oh, sorry, create a function.
Okay.
Yes. So click on it.
Yeah, I've done that.
And then you'll name your function any name that you want. Then you also have to choose a language. On top, you can see where they say author from scratch or use blueprint or from image. Please choose write it from scratch.
Author from scratch, okay.
Yes. And scroll down, you'll see where you have to choose the language. Please go with the Python 3.13.
Use the language. Under basic information, change the default execution role, additional configuration. Choose the language, okay. So I should choose Python 3.31.
Okay, so let me repeat the process, those who are not yet here. Yes, so any function name, let's say beta, then for runtime, please choose Python 3.13. And then as simple as that, just create the function. I hope you all have created your functions that we're going to use.
Yes.
Yes. So let me go back to the code. So please do this in your code so that we'll get the name and we return as hello, maybe Moss from Lambda. After, when you're done writing this, please deploy your code or your function. So you could see here it's deploy. Deployment.
So why should I be where the code is? The code imports JSON and
this is how the code looks like.
Yeah. Yes.
What you're really going to add is this variable, my name, then event. How this function works, it reads the data or content from the event. So you can pass the values through calling it and then you display it.
Return set cartoon. Yeah.
I hope we're all done. We're running out of time. So you deploy it and it becomes successful, but for me, since I didn't do any changes, then that's why. So we go to the tab here. You could see where it's saying code, test, monitor, configuration. So please click on test. So we're going to create a new testing event. Let me call it test 1. So sometimes it's really necessary for you to keep the events. So that's why you have to name it, so that maybe if you're testing and you want to come back and see what you did, you could find it there, so that you don't have to redo the whole process of testing again. Or maybe if you tested it and it failed, you have to come back and see where the issue is, but without losing any events that you did. So here we'll pass the key name is called name, then here you say Moss. So we had this before. Can you see what we had before, please? You can see it? Okay, so you're going to change it to, you delete the key 2, key 3, all delete them, and then do name Moss. Please don't have a comma after this, since it's the only one that we have. Then we'll do our testing. So our testing went successful. When you see the details of it, you could see that hello Moss from Lambda, the one that we say the function should return. Yeah? So, is everybody function working? It went through? Oh, okay, that's nice. After the test, you can save it so that you don't have to come back and redo the whole thing. Or maybe it was a function of somebody else you're doing the test for, and you want to prove to them that you already did the test, so that's why. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's here. Yeah, I hope you can see that. So what we're going to do next, for a file that I've uploaded on S3, I'm going to read it using this independent function. So yeah, by that, I mean that if you have some retrieved maybe reports from the sensor, which is more of an Excel file, you can create independent function and interact with it. So as we said, independent functions, they're more for you to not worry about you setting up environment, doing a whole application or an app. So you just have to use the functions. And with functions, you can also use them, since you could see that they give a response. Yeah. So let's get straight to it. And please access this file. Oh, sorry. We are going to use this URL. So let me put it here in the doc. You have it. The URL to use and Lambda. So how we're going to do it? So this file is a file for Aimelyse sensor. So it has data from this sensor, and we're going just to read it. So in terms of storage, we're not going to interact more with this file since we haven't set the whole storage thing. But as you already know what's really going on, you can set up the storage later so that your function have enough memory to run in. So let's go in Lambda. We have, okay, there are some codes that are already tested so that we don't take a long time writing it. Let's load it. So let's go step by step. Oh, let me give you the codes. I will explain the codes, how it works. So, please copy the codes since we can't take time writing the code. So, please look in the doc that I've shared, copy the codes, and then put them in your function. What you already did, I mean, if you want to create another function so that you won't delete your first function that you created on Lambda, then you can go ahead. But yeah, so let's deploy this function. Or maybe let me first explain. So we have a library in Python which reads helps you read from AWS, which is S3. You understand that, yeah? Okay. So with this, I'm initiating a client for a S3 service and AWS. And here I'll pass my bucket name, and also the file key is the location to my file. So since my file is public, I don't really need to set up the access key, the secret key. I don't have to do a lot of configuration. But I suggest that you don't have to give a public access to all your data. So here you set up the bucket name and the file key. We will pass it the same way that we pass our name. The exercise that already done, we passed our name and said hello when Moss from Lambda. So the same way we're going to do it for bucket name. So here this is a function from that library, Boto. I didn't realize that the codes are so small. Now you can see, yeah? Yeah, I'm really sorry I didn't realize so. So I was saying Boto3 is a library for helping you to access the AWS services. Here we are creating a client for a connection so that we could access the S3 service. When you have blocked the access to people, here there is other configurations you do for you to keep your data private, where they ask you the access key and the secret key, so you have to provide it. And yeah, but for now, since my file is public, you guys don't need to set all those configuration. So we'll have to get the bucket name and the file key, which is the link to my file. This is a function where you get, and because the file it's a little bit big, I was limiting, you could see the comment, I was limiting it to use not more than 2048 bytes. So what we're going to do we're just going to get the content in the file, and then we read the first line. After reading the first line, we need to make it in the type that we could be able to print it, because the way it's read is not really in this format that we could be able to read. So yeah. So I've put it in a try and catch, which in Python we use try and except. Yes, except. So when there is an error, it throws an error of an exception. So have you pasted the code in the function, the file? Yes. So please deploy your function. For mine, it's deploying now. Okay. Let me just use my other function that I tested the code in. So, if you have already deployed the function, if I've already deployed the function, please go on test. Please go on test, and I've shared with you the JSON body to pass in the function. Then you pass it, then you test. Please, before you test, go in configuration and edit here to the timeout to 1 minute, because the file is too big. It really takes a lot of time for the function to go through it or even read it. So you have to increase the timeout. Otherwise, your function will be running out of time and you might not end up run well the function. I know it's confusing, but it's interesting. Yes. No, please first go on configuration. Here, on configuration, then edit. For the storage, we're good to go in the memory, but the time for our function to run, you can set up the time that your function should run. Normally, we have 3 seconds, but this one, because it's a very file with big data, then we need to have enough time. So also, with doing optimization, you have also to consider the data you're dealing with and the time it's taking you and the memory, so you have to balance it. If this function is taking a lot of time, because 1 minute is kind of a lot of time, but it's not going to take 1 minute, I know. But if it takes more than 1 minute, then your function must be really doing a lot of calls that are not really necessary. A very good function, even if you might be dealing with a lot of data, 1 minute, it's a bit too much. So just change it to 1 minute for now, but I know it's not going to take 1 minute to run. I'm just doing this for just in case. Do 1 minute, then save it. After saving it, please go on test. Then you'll see that I've put my bucket name and also the file key. So basically this is my bucket name, and the file key you can see row and then the sensor name file, the sensor file, sorry. So with this you can see that it's under a folder. If it was under the bucket only, then we don't have to put the row because it's not under the folder. But since it's under the row folder, then we have to do this. So let's run it. Okay, so you saw that it took 4 seconds. So the other time that we set is not really necessary. So this is the header of the file. Please let me show you the real file so that you could have So are we on the same page? Are we good? Any questions? What you didn't understand? For this, Lambda is it helps you to create independent functions, as I said, and you can interact with the data that you have uploaded in S3. Yeah. So we're running out of time. There is a part that I didn't cover, but you will have the slides, and the slides have everything, any guidance, and you already have my number on WhatsApp, or it's better maybe you can email me if you need help with creating or setting up some servers, then you can let me know and I help you. Yes. So for that part, for creating instances, we didn't cover it, but yeah, in the slides you will see it. I hope this also was helpful, and you now have a clue of AWS is. And it looks interesting, yes? Yeah, at first it's very confusing, but when you get to interact with it, you'll be in love with it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Moss. Like she said, she would provide the slides so we can just take it over from there. Coffee is ready. We will start the next session at 10 minutes past 11:10 a.m. Thank you so much. So welcome back, everyone, and we are happy to have in our midst our 3 panelists for the next session. On the panel discussion, we have Engineer Selina Amoah, Mr. Emmanuel Apo, and our rep from LASEPA to take us through environmental air quality management and regulations. So from LASEPA, that's the Lagos State Environmental Protection Authority or agency. And then we have Engineer Selina Amoah coming from the EPA Ghana. Mr. Emmanuel Apo is from Envirofin Consult. They'll be giving insights on how air quality is being managed within in their countries, and also some regulations around air quality, air pollution, air quality. Now we'll begin the panel discussion with a 10-minute presentation from each of the panelists. And we'll start with Mr. Emmanuel Apo. So for Mr. Emmanuel Apo, like I said, he's the managing consultant for Envirofin Consult, an environmental management firm. He is the former director of environmental quality at the Environmental Protection Authority here in Ghana, where they monitor air, motor vehicle, water, and noise emissions. Mr. Apple, please, we'll start with your presentation. Please welcome. Shall we give it up for Mr. Emmanuel Apple?
Thank you very much, moderator. Please, can you show my slide? I don't need to go through that routine of telling whom I am, but once she has done it, that's all. Please, next slide. We're looking at the air quality standards, policies, regulations in Ghana and some African countries. And I would like us to look at the presentation outline. We'll look at the air quality issues and what we need to manage, and then the standards and regulations in Ghana and then in some African countries, and then some challenges that are associated with them. Thank you very much. Let's move on. You see, the issue of air quality is in West Africa is common. The sources are mostly common. We tend to have from industries on paved roads. We tend to have motor vehicle emissions, road congestion, surfaces of the road, how they look like, and then indoor cooking, open burning, cooking in homes. Then we have extraction of minerals or materials from e-waste, among others. Next. You see, why the need to solve these air pollution problems? We all know that worldwide transportation is key to pollution in the environment, and we tend to have vehicle populations worldwide is increasing. If you take Ghana, for instance, around 2005, we were around 500,000 vehicles on the road. Now we are more than 3 million vehicles on the road. So about 64% of every fuel that is burnt or consumed is coming from transportation. And the higher emissions along the motor vehicles have also been recorded worldwide. And the need to protect the environment and public health from these emissions. We also know that population in general is also being exposed to excessive emissions and then air pollutants, which normally supersedes or it's more than the WHO guidelines limit that we have now. And then about 91% to 92% also of all polluted related mortalities are associated with our area that we have, the low to middle income countries. And then we tend to have exposure to toxins, and most of these toxins can have some biological or chemical effect in human beings, and may also lead to a lot of ailments like ischemia, disease, heart diseases, stroke, chronic obstruction, pulmonary diseases, lung cancer, among others. It has also been recorded that this also affects low birth rates and also affect future development. So when you look at worldwide, in 2016, 2014, 2016, about 7 million people die annually. Now in 2020 to 2022, the estimate shows that it's about 8.1 million people dying annually. These are preventable deaths that are associated with air pollution, which when we work towards it, should be able to reduce this. And the children and then the elderly who are most vulnerable bear the brunt of this exposure to pollutants that are not good for our health. So in country, we look at the Ghana context, about 28,000 die annually from premature exposure. And then we also have economic burden that is also associated with that. It has been estimated that over 400 billion associated cost of air pollution is recorded worldwide. And then when you take this, about 2.5 billion is associated with Ghana. And this accounts to 4.2% of our GDP. Lagos State alone in Nigeria is also estimated to be about 2.1 billion. This is a highly economic area in West Africa. And one state bearing the brunt of this cost, if you want to quantify the whole country as a Nigeria, you could bear me out that the levels could be the cost would be very, very high associated with prevention of these things. Next. So, in developing the air quality standards that we have in Ghana, we looked at various scenarios and methods that would be most appropriate to our context. So, we use the Ghana EPA, which is now an authority, the guideline levels that were set in the year 2000 as a base for the development of the standards. Then we also looked at studies and research monitoring work that have been done in country. Then we set up a committee comprising of relevant stakeholders. And here there were about over 60 institutions that were involved from this stakeholder engagement. And then we also collected data or gathered data both in-house, which when we talk about in-house, it means that from EPA level, and then external for other institutions. And then once the data was collected, we had to look at the integrity of that data. Now we need to verify and validate those data. So we look at the duration of monitoring. We all know that the short-term exposure limit for WHO is 24 hours. So in Ghana standards, we have what we call between 20 to 24 hours. So if the sampler doesn't sample more than 20 hours, you flag the data off. And then it should also not monitor more than 24 hours. So, and if it is less than 24 hours, let's say 20 hours, 21 hours, you need to also put a statement on it that that's the hours that have been monitored. So you have to look at that, and then the equipment, is the equipment approved by the regulator? The type of equipment that is going to be used, and then the quality of that data. You look at the data outliners also, you look at the climatic influence during the monitoring, because we all know that pollutants are propagated based on also climate variables. They are affected by climatic variables. So when you tend to have more precipitation, you have lower concentrations. When you have dry winds, you tend to have higher airborne dust. So you also look at the conditions that prevailed during the monitoring and the storage mode of the data. And then the significant risk that every parameter you are going to take pose to human health, whether directly or indirectly. Here we look at the toxicity, then we look at the biogenicity, we also look at the chemical components that they are. So we look at in terms of biology, and then in terms of the chemical toxicity that is being associated with that parameter. And then we are not looking at viruses, so we don't look at the virulent or the virulosis aspect of that. Let's move on. So you compare the provisional standard that you are going to do with, if there is one in the country, you compare with them, and then you also, or you compare with other international standards of similar geographical conditions. The emphasis is on similar geographical conditions, because what pertains in a temperate area may not pertain in a tropical area. So you look at the similarity and the conditions that are associated with that. And then where no guidelines or standards exist, we adopt international standards. There was also a national stakeholder organized to review the standards, the draft that was given, and then the National Technical Review Committee that is hosted by the Ghana Standards Authority will also send a draft to selected independent experts to also review. And after all these things, the comments come back to the NTC, which is a committee that will be incorporated into the draft for finalization and publication. Next. So getting the standard is not like you will sit down and then quote any values. You need to subject everything into scrutiny so that you ensure that you get the right thing there. So Ghana, the need for air quality and motor vehicle emission standard in the country stems from the fact that we all need to look at the SDGs and make sure that we meet those goals that have been set from the Sustainable Development initiatives. So we have the target 3.9, which you all know. Then we also look at the 11, and then the 11.6 and 11.6 too. So these are targets that give us some encouragement to be able to meet, establish air quality management systems in the country. The Ghana standards, we have two. We have the Ghana Standard for Environment and Health Protection, requirement for ambient air quality and point or stacks emissions. And then we also have one for the motor vehicle emissions. Next. For all the standards that I've mentioned, they recognize that they have to reduce air pollution from stationary, area, mobile, and amount. So, next. So these are the areas. There are 4 areas that we look at based on the fuel types. Next. So these are the standards, the limits. Next. I only want to show you this, so you just move on quickly. Go to the standards for the motor vehicle emission. Move on. So this is the motor vehicle emissions, and it was based on Euro 2 type modified. So this is being implemented by the DVLA. So you test your vehicles, you look at the emission levels and compare with this. So it cuts across the petrol, diesel, and the motorcycles. Next, let's move on to the regulations. So regulations. Move on. No. Yes, we have the governance level. Go back again. So we're trying to map up the regulations in Africa, some African countries. The key ones we have was South Africa. And when they were able to come out with these regulations, they were able to reduce the number of exposure days in the major cities that they have. When you come to Kenya, they also have some regulations, and applying this regulation, it resulted in 40% increase in industrial compliance. When you come to Uganda, also follows the same thing. Kampala also decreased by 20%. When you come to Nigeria, Nigeria has a lot of information in their destination, but they are not able to assess the reduction levels up to now. So that's the limitation in Nigeria. We come to Egypt. Egypt also have the same thing, but we also not be able to assess that. But Egypt's case is very, very critical because they tend to have what you call desert storm. So they normally implement the other aspect of the air quality guideline initiatives that are specified, like protection of human health, taking other means to do that. Then we have the Côte d'Ivoire, which is also had a lot of limitations. And then we have the West and Central Africa Agreement, which every country within the ECOWAS region and have to be able to implement and move on. So they have to look at the transportation, household air pollution, urban planning and management and mining, among others. Yes, next. That is the last slide. So Ghana's own is based on the 92 Constitution, and then it's also based on the regulations I'm talking about, and then also based on what the EPA also has in the regulations. But the question is, enforcement challenges exist. No unified air quality policy. We don't have it. We don't have unified air quality policies. We tend to have about 14 of them that are captured in various institutions, but we tend not to have one unified policy. That's the main limitation about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Apple. Please have a seat there. Our next panelist is coming from the Environmental Protection Authority, Engineer Selina Amoah. She's the Director for the Environmental Quality Unit at the EPA Ghana.
Okay. Good morning and good morning. And my presentation is supposed to be on air quality management planning. Then I use the case of Ghana as a case study. Can we move on, please? Okay, so just as an outline, look at air quality management, the need for air quality management, and then the focal areas when one is planning for air quality management, and then the air quality management plan that was developed for the Greater Accra region. So on air quality management, one will ask, why do we even have to manage air quality? I think we have gone through this a number of times, that pollution is an issue. And pollution occurs when a particular pollutant or pollutants released in amounts that can be harmful to the environment and public health. So it depends on which pollutants we are looking at. And these days, the concentration is more on PM 2.5. But whichever pollutant it is, when it is released in amounts that exceeds levels that one will be comfortable with as a human or the environment, then it becomes a pollutant. Threshold standards are set to determine pollution levels that will have minimal impact on the environment and public health. So like Mr. Apple presented, there are standards available for different countries. And to meet the standard, it means that one will have to put measures in place. So it is not just a matter of monitoring, but then measures to be able to address what is causing the pollution levels to go up. So air quality management refers to the activities which will include the monitoring and then the measures that are put in place to help protect the environment and public health from the harmful effects of air pollution. And if we have to do this, then it has to be done in a planned manner to ensure that whatever objectives that one sets for itself in preparing the air quality management plan is met. So pollution is a major contributor to a number of health challenges, as we are all aware. Respiratory diseases, cardiovascular diseases, cancers, also affect reproductive system for women. And then impacts on the environment includes ecosystem damage, visibility when it comes to the particulates, and also reduction in crop yield. The sources of the pollution cuts across many sectors, as we are all aware. So the pollution is emitted from different sources. So if we have to deal with it, then it means that we have to bring stakeholders from different sectors together so that we consolidate the effort to be able to address the challenges that we are facing. We are all aware that when we try to address issues in isolation, it doesn't really work or doesn't make impact. But when we come together and consolidate efforts, then we can tackle the issues and deal with them appropriately. The next slide, please. Okay, still under the need for AQMP, there is increase in air pollution as a result of population growth and urbanization. This will not stop. The population keeps growing, urbanization is happening. Economic development, such as industrial activities and business activities, are also ongoing. Fleet of vehicles on the road are also increasing. And from studies and research that have been done, air pollution is projected to further increase if no action is taken. And the challenges cannot be addressed overnight. So it requires that one plan for it, you set the goals, and then you look at how you can systematically put in measures to be able to reach the goals that you have set. And once you have a plan, it also allows for documentation of the measures that were used. So it can be used as a reference point. And then things that have been done that didn't work, you don't repeat the same thing again. So it allows for one to document measures that is being or were used in the past or is being used to address the pollution issues. Okay, so to develop an air quality management plan, there are 5 focal areas that one has to look at. And that is what was used when we were developing our air quality management plan for the Greater Accra region. So the first is the air quality assessment, that you assess the situation, because for one to be able to address the problem, you have to define what the problem is. So you assess the air quality situation, what is causing the pollution, what are the pollution levels and all that under air quality assessment. Then emission inventory, what are the sources that are contributing to the pollution levels that one is recording, point sources, mobile sources, or whatever. Then modeling is also required. So you look at the pollution levels that are being recorded and its impacts on public health. And then when you put it intervention, what is going to happen if you set a target? Is it going to cause a reduction? What amount of reduction is it going to set? And it's also important that if source apportionment is done, like I said, the pollution is coming from various sources, but which sector is contributing more? If you want to address the issue, it will be good to know which sector, so that the measures to address the issues are focused on those sectors for one to be able to see the impact of the effort that is being made. Then the control measures. So you have defined the problem, you know what the emission sources are, the source apportionment has been done. What are the control measures that one can put in place to address the issues? Then implementation. So once you have the control measures, then you can prepare and see how those measures can be implemented to be able to bring the pollution levels down. And in doing that, it is not just a one-day thing. It is a process. It is a journey. So you start from somewhere, and then you keep increasing the efforts that you are making. So the PDCA cycle is followed. You plan, you do, you check, you act, and then it follows like that until you arrive at the objective or the set goal that you want to achieve. The next slide, please. So in developing the air quality management plan for the Greater Accra region, the first one, the maiden one, was done for just the Ghana region, and it was done in 2018, and then it has been revised. Like I said, it's plan, do, you check, and then you act. So the cycle goes on. And then what was done, the first one that was done, required that after 5 years, you revise, you look at what has been achieved, and then you revise the plan. So that has been done. It was done last year. And in developing the plan, we based it on a number of the data that was gathered after a period of monitoring. So the data that was used was not only from EPA, but other researchers and then from the academic institutions as well. Then we look at the capacity, assess the capacity, building activities that has been done in the past, and then data analysis, you analyze the data and also see how the trend is like. Then a number of stakeholders were engaged in the development of the air quality management plan. Like I said, it cuts across sectors. So one cannot sit down and you develop the plan and then ask somebody to implement. So a number of stakeholders came together to develop the standard. So stakeholders from ministries, departments, and agencies, from local government, the MMDAs, from academia, research institutions, from NGOs, and the US EPA played a key role when we were developing the first AQMP. Okay, so the plan assessed the current monitoring network that we have and where we are doing the monitoring and how effective it is. Then emission sources and factors that are influencing the pollution were also determined. It was assessed in the plan. Analysis of pollution levels recorded over the period. So from the data that we have, what are the pollution trend over the period? Then the health impact assessment was also done to estimate the health impacts from the pollution that is being recorded. Then the capacity, technical, the laboratory, legal, regulatory framework, emission inventory, capacity were determined to determine the gaps, because if we have to implement the plan and then we don't have the capacity, then there is the need for us to look at how we can bridge that gap to be able to implement the plan effectively. So the capacities, available capacities, were assessed to determine the gaps. The next slide, please. So the gap that were identified include a limited monitoring of ambient and household air pollution, lack of inventory at the district level and data management systems. It also assessed the lab facilities, the fact that the EPA itself is not able to analyze do some of the analysis. And then the access to health quality data was also an issue. Lack of policy, like Mr. Apple said, and regulations to facilitate the enforcement of the standard. The communication of air quality information to the public for them to be informed was also a gap. And then duplication of effort was also identified as one of them. Please, the next slide. And then based on this, goals were set up that we're working towards. The overall objectives was there, which was to ensure that the air quality pollution levels were brought into the limits of the standard by 2030. And then 5 goals were determined, and each of the goals had activities that we're going to implement to be able to reach the overall objective. Please, the next slide. So the implementation plan, like I said, for each of the goal, we have objective activities, who is responsible, within what time frame are we going to implement that activity, what are the indicators, and then what do we need to be able to implement that activity was also captured. Then the monitoring and evaluation, the level of implementation of the action identified, the availability of funding to be able to implement, evaluation of emission drivers. These were some of the monitoring that will be done, and then the evaluation. The next slide. And like I said, it is a cycle. So it goes through the cycle and then it is repeated. So until it gets to the objective, the overall objective, the cycle keeps moving, So thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So our next presenter is coming from Nigeria. He's in the person of Mr. Suenu Ibrahim Oluwatoyin. He's a lab analyst and chief scientific officer at the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency. Can we welcome him?
Good afternoon all. My name is Ibrahim-Anyass from LASEPA, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency. First, I'll apologize for not having a slide. It was on short notice, but we'll make do what I did yesterday. So, next slide. What does LASEPA do? As our vision states, we have to build a portfolio of sound environmental management programs and projects in the development of a sustainable environment in conjunction with other arms of government, regulatory organizations, and international agencies. First, LASEPA is domiciled in the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources, Lagos State. The ministry is the parent body of the agency, so also oversees the activities of the agency. Our vision, as stated there, is to protect the environment, which encompasses everything relating to health, air quality, waste management as a liquefied form. We have another agency of the solid waste management. LASEPA as a whole have different departments that take care of different aspects of the environment. We have that takes care of the chemical and hazardous materials, the waste, the lab. Petrochemicals are thereabout. So air quality had been in the forefront since COVID. If we all recall, Lagos State was epicenter in Nigeria. Thus, after COVID, we decided, the government of the day decided to actually take up air quality at full. Thus, it created so many other programs, both in the ministry, the agency, sister ministries, like Ministry of Health, and in partnership with the academia, for example, University of Lagos, C40 cities, World Bank. In 2021, the environmental law was reviewed to accommodate air quality and other environmental factors. This gave bite to LASEPA in pursuing the air quality management and sanitization of the people. So what did LASEPA do? We engaged stakeholders on the need why we need a good air quality. Stakeholders like the hospitals, companies, international bodies, to help us propagate this story of quality air, which will lead to quality life. The result of our efforts are in the collaboration with the C40 cities, who, out of their magnanimity, were able to provide us some sensors. And there was also the project, Lagos RFP integration of DHG and air pollution, February 2023. You can Google it. This was to give a framework for what C40 is doing. C40 is also in partnership with the Ministry of Health on air quality. This is why our data have more of health impacts. The data we have presently, at least for a full year running, from ECHO, LE, and Lamata, which is our transport section, is also on the Clarity platform. They are monitoring the BRT corridors for our vehicles emission. While our LACVIS are also taking emission inventories. As a whole, the ministry is coordinating regarding this isolated data to form a state emission inventory, which was started middle of last year. Presently also, we are trying to do our carbon registry. We are on it and would round up probably this year, and then implementation. On the implementation axis, you still need the law. The law was further reviewed last year to accommodate a whole lot of things as science is dynamic. Thus, we need to be ahead of the changing times. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. What we are going to do, we would open the floor for questions from the participants here and those online. If anyone would want to ask any question, our panelists any question. Yes, Sheikh. Please mention your name. Kindly introduce yourself first.
My name is Sheikh Sherry from Liberia. Let me just say a very big thank you to the panelists. And maybe my first set of questions will come to our colleagues from Ghana. Let me say this. I think it has been clear from both of your presentations that there is a lot of science, a lot of experiences, a lot of capacity building, a lot of planning and management behind what you do for air quality monitoring in Ghana. But there are some few issues I wanted some corrections, some clarity, and maybe some suggestions or recommendations on. To my dear brother on the left, you mentioned that there are, I think approximately, I stand to be corrected, 14 different policies relating to air pollution, but they are spread under different institutions. Of course, that means institutions having different mandates on the local scene. And my question is why? The reason I'm saying that with all of the experiences that at this level, that includes the training that we are all seated here and all of the research from academic institutions, you don't think it is about time for a standard laboratory for air quality monitoring be set up? Because from what we have been understanding from the onset of this training, which is very important, not only for Ghana, but for the West African sub-region, is that air pollution is a global issue. And in fact, not just being a global issue, but a present issue that requires an immediate redress. If that is the case, I personally, from my experience and from what I heard from the presentation, which is very, very you articulated very well and very express. I think the EPA, which has several mandates, I mean the Environmental Protection Agency, I find it difficult to think that an institution like the EPA can handle all of the demands to monitor and provide the safety requirements for air pollution monitoring. That being said, is it in the plans of the Environmental Protection Agency to just move one step further, have a kind of encapsulating one big legislation for air quality pollution monitoring instead of having it spread on a different institution, and that center be the center of excellence for air pollution monitoring, and that would be mandated to work with all of the different academic institutions and what have you. So I thought that would be very important. That also goes back to, for us coming from the different countries, unfortunately, from where I come from, we have zero air monitoring. It has been a blessing that, of course, with the support and help of Dr. Addison Hughes, we just acquired our first project under the EPIC funding, the air pollution program under the University of Chicago. And hopefully we'll start our first set of monitoring in the next couple of weeks. But first, of course, we have to identify suitable sites for our reference monitor and the PM 2.5 sensors. So we are far behind, but looking at how far Ghana has come, I was just wondering if this is going to make sense if the EPA start thinking about a short-term possibility of working towards pushing forward a legislation to set up a Center for Air or Porto, because this is a very big issue, and the EPA has several mandates. The question that comes, what are the top priorities of the leadership management to see if you can get to the next level, having this legislation in the center? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abo.
Thank you very much. Ghana, we have a lot of institutions, from the local governance, transport, forestry, almost 29 major sectors that have something to do with pollution. When you take local governance act, they also operate under the local governance level. When you talk about the EPA Act, they are supposed to, the mission is to co-manage, protect, enhance the country's environment. It means that the responsibility is not only on EPA, but to work with the stakeholders. When you come to local governance, they also have to look at the local government aspect of it. And whilst EPA look at the industries and the big fishes, they also look at the ground level, under the district level. And then we also have the transportation sector. So you have a lot of multifaceted institutions that come into play, notwithstanding those who even produce the fuel. If you have vehicles on the street, you don't have good fuel, you pollute. So they also have aspects of that. So each institution's role is very, very important. That's why my sister was just telling you that in the management plan, we have institutional functions that have to be played to be able to ensure that. But the overseer of all this is the Environmental Protection Authority of Ghana. They have to oversee everything. They are the drivers of that. So the only thing that can solve the major problem is to have one unified policy. The air quality policy. Well, like we have in US, we have the Clean Air Act. Even within the Clean Air Act, you come to various states. They have their own regulations. So it is not uniform. You go to California, the air levels are different. They have different standards. Washington and area, Maryland, they have their different. When you go towards North Carolina, they have their own limits. But what can you say is one country, why do you have more limits? Because it depends on the geographical area that they are peculiar. So if each country institution is able to play their role, we'll solve the problem. And this was a major gap that we see. That's why in the EPA, when they are doing everything, they include every stakeholder in their deliberations. Every activity is done, they include them so that they all drive the boat together. You get it? So you will not have it. You may be Liberia, you are now growing in terms of environmental protection. You don't have very stringent, but when you come to protecting the environment, it's not only one institution. It involves a lot of stakeholders that have to do that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Please, any more questions?
Hello. Okay. Please, I have a few questions, and I'll be grateful if you can help me. So, sometime last year, I think in December, just before the election, we saw that the Electoral Commission said they made some mistakes on the, I think there's a numbering of whatever. And then we saw on TV people gathered around and the Electoral Commission burning the ballot sheets. It was all over on news, and I kept asking myself, how should a government institution be doing this? So that's for the commission. There's also been other institutions where, government institutions, FDA sometimes bans medication and all. I always ask myself, do they do that after they have consulted the EPA, or they just get up one day and say, because I thought that if, for example, the Electoral Commission had consulted the EPA, they would have said, oh, maybe let's look for an incinerator, or let's look for a better place to get it sorted out. So that interinstitutional collaboration when it comes to disposing of waste, which we think should be visible for the public to do. Is EPA consulted or involved in that? The other thing I also want to find out is what are some of the systemic measures we can put in place at our household levels? Because sometimes doing the community one seems like it's becoming a challenge. So in our homes, what can we do to ensure that air pollution is reduced? I'll come back with my other questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Senator.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Maybe let me take it from our homes. I think from the training that we have gone through, we know what the sources of the pollutions are and some of the things that we can do. So in our homes, what are the sources of the pollution? From sweeping, from cooking, from burning. These are some of them. And we know what we can do to reduce or to stop the pollution from these sources. But what I see as key is the awareness creation. There are people who are doing it without knowing. Others know it, but yet they go ahead and do it. But the more we create the awareness and people become aware, the more they are conscious. They are conscientized to address the issue. So I think in our homes, the people that we live with, the community, we can be engaging them, try and create the awareness. You see somebody burning, we can find out why the person is burning and maybe a little education on what can be done. Just last week or so, where I live, somebody was burning early morning in the smoke. And the neighbor came out and said, no, this, you cannot do it. And she insisted, so the person had to turn off the fire. So if we keep doing this, we will create the awareness and then we stop some of the pollutions that we generate from our homes. On the burning of the materials by the institutions that you have mentioned, like you rightly said, the EPA is not consulted in this. But as we continue to engage all the key stakeholders on some of these things, I think the awareness will be created. And you mentioned it right. If you want to burn and there is an incinerator, that is the right way to do it. Because with the incinerator, we put in the pollution control systems to be able to reduce the emission from, or to ensure that the emission that comes from the process meets the standard. So if we continue to engage and then we make sure the right facilities are put in place, we'll be able to stop some of these practices. Thank you.
Okay, Ibrahim, would you want to add anything from your angle?
Hello? Well, she said it all. Information is key. When you have information, you are able to do a whole lot of things. So sensitization of the populace on the need to change some acts that had been there time immemorial. Change is difficult, was necessary. So the elites need to lead. Officials need to lead. When government officials and the elites are seen to do the right thing, then those at the bottom of the ladder have no choice but to comply. Also, the approach that should be followed should be more of education than punitive. When you go out to punish people, they get used to it. But when you try to correct, it's just like a child. The child will continue to play trancy until you make the child understand that this you're doing is dangerous to you. But to change is very difficult. So continuous education, continuous engagement. And like they say in politics is grassroots. Education is grassroots. So the lowest tier of government have to be deeply involved in this educational process for us to have a better environment for all. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So we'll take 2 more questions. There's one online that I'll take and then one here. Then we are done.
Okay, this is a question from one of our online participants. It says, will you advocate for a unified policy in Ghana? That is the question.
A unified policy.
Policy in Ghana.
Okay.
I think I've already said it, that we need one major policy. You know, when things are done on ad hoc basis, it becomes very difficult to even quantify progress. So if you have air quality policy as a national policy, people can tap from the policies and then expand them in their plans. But without it, everybody does anything, and you have duplications of work also along the line. So yes, I'm advocating for that.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is very simple, but I want us to please let's expatiate. For the past 4 or 5 days now, we've been talking about monitoring the air quality, try to educate, build on the capacity, try to intensify our knowledge. But my question is this: what role do institutions play in shaping cross-country ambient pollution policies? It's possible for us to monitor a very good quality air in Ghana. We have neighboring country. If we maintain a good quality air and we have other country beside us polluting the air, we will definitely suffer it. So I believe, is there any policy that govern, or there's any interrelationship between we and the neighboring country?
Okay,
thank you.
Yeah, we have what we call Abidjan Agreement for better air quality management. I think I mentioned the West and Central African air quality initiative that was done in 2009, and almost every ECOWAS nation have signed up to. And this was also reviewed, and I was fortunate to be a resource person to be able to view the implementation of this policy up to 2018. And every country is supposed to look at the 5 major areas that are mentioned. We have the land use, we have the transportation, we have the monitoring itself from institutions, mining, and forestry. So countries are supposed to do that and come up with, how do you call it, their own plans, action plans, and also come up with legal requirements. That's why I was reviewing the legal requirements also within the sub-region and see whether those legal requirements, and I was very glad to come upon Nigeria. Nigeria used not to have at all. So I saw that 2021, 2022, they have done some great work over there. We're all bashing them because they are the big horses in West Africa. You get it? So they've done well. Maybe we need to clap for them. Yes. You get it? So countries are doing their best. Now there are base of policies, management systems put in place by the sub-region. So when we implement them as the country, because air pollution knows no boundary. It can be transboundary. But if you protect yours here and then in Burkina Faso, pollution is going on, we can still have it here. So we should go by the initiative of the better air quality management system that we have in place. I think when you go down south a bit, you have the Libreville initiative that also talk about the health implications associated with all these things. So we need to work together to do that.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you so much. Would you want to add anything? Okay. So the last question, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So my question is on the projects that come with both emission reduction and air quality benefits. Like, for example, you are implementing a carbon markets project where the funder of the project requires that you provide a certificate indicating your contribution to air quality measures. I know with the EPA's Carbon Market Office, you are able to go through the whole carbon market process to the extent where ITMOs are transferred through their carbon market registry. What I want to find out is with the air quality side of EPA, both in Ghana and Nigeria, if there is any form of official acknowledgement for projects that come with co-benefits with regards to emission reduction and air quality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary.
Okay, unlike the climate change where certificate is issued, for air quality, there isn't anything like that. But whilst you are implementing the project, like Abo said, what Abo presented on the standard, you're supposed to meet the standard. So if we issue permit, that comes with conditions. And as part of the permit conditions, you're supposed to meet the standard. So if you are not able to meet the standard, then in you monitoring and submitting the report to us, our response will indicate that you are not meeting the standard. And when it comes to your documentation, the things you have to submit to the funders and to show that you are not meeting the standard. So directly we are not, but indirectly you have an obligation to ensure that you manage the project such that you meet the standard.
Okay, Ibrahim.
Like she said, there's no certificate or permits. And the permit serves as a guideline for everything you do. And once you go outside the guideline, definitely your project is off track. So if you are within the guideline, by the time you submit your project and it is assessed, the result of the assessment will suffice for whatever you want to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. On this note, we'll bring this session to a close. Thank you very much. We are grateful to have you here. And please don't leave yet. We will call Dr. Alison Felix Hughes to give her closing remarks, and then thank you officially to you. Oh, I have not been gender biased. It's just that the lady raised her hands earlier and due to time. So I would invite Dr. Alison Felix Hughes to give us his closing remarks, and then we'll take the vote of thanks from Ms. Nancy Owusu.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Yes, I've been asked to give a short remarks, and I don't want to hold you since the lunch is almost ready. So what I have to say this afternoon is to, first of all, thank God for allowing us to get to this time. I know that Nancy will do the vote of thanks, but I think that as Afri-SET, we have been partnering with Columbia University to do training, because training is an integral part of Afri-SET. Afri-SET is the air quality sensor evaluation and training facility or center. So an integral part of what we do is to bring stakeholders from various backgrounds across West Africa and try to build a capacity so that they will be able to go back home and also act as trainers of trainers. If we were able to get all the communities within West Africa to have sensors deployed, we'll still have a challenge when it comes to how to interpret the data that comes out of these census. And so it was only good that we, this year, decided to focus on data analysis, how to, first of all, make sense of the data that comes out of these census. Because it's very important that we understand what the data is saying and be able to share this with the general public so that they make informed decisions. And so I'm happy that over the last 5 days, we've had facilitators from West Africa, East Africa, from India, and from North Africa, leading discussions, leading training in all aspects of data analysis. And so I'm convinced that participants will go back and be able to use these various tools to be able to analyze data, visualize data, and then let the public know what quality of air is being, breathed in the various communities and how to safeguard themselves. I believe today we also heard from the regulators, and we appreciate that this is a global problem, and Africa sits at its center because of the lack of investment in the monitoring of air. I believe that this is a core, especially after hearing what the regulators have said from Mr. Apple, who is an expert in air quality monitoring, air quality management. Selena, who is now there with the Ghana Environmental Protection Authority that leads, all the work on air quality in the country. And then my brother from Nigeria, from La Paz, who is also doing very well. I was there last year and I saw some of the work that they are doing in Lagos, and I think it's very good. So let's continue to encourage the regulators that we are always willing from academia and from other groups to partner with you to ensure that our citizens will be able to breathe clean air and will have to live a longer life. And so you can always count on us to be able to work together to provide clean air for all. And so at this juncture, on my behalf and also on the behalf of Professor Dan Westervelt from Columbia University, who also presented online, and on behalf of all our facilitators, we want to say a big thank you for your active participation. And we can say that just look out, because our mandate is also to train, so we look out for more training opportunities from Afri-SET. And I would say continue to watch our website for other interesting programs that we have lined up for this year. And certainly as stakeholders, let's continue to interact. We have established the WhatsApp group where we hope that there will be more interactions. If you have questions for our facilitators, they are in that group. Just send them the questions and we show that they will respond. We will also ensure that the various presentation will be put on our website where you can go and view and download along with other interesting informations and all our evaluation reports. We also have our partners on this project here from Kigali. You heard Moss, who is our web developer. Ruth, our program manager, was here. And so let us all work together. As I often say, we are open for partnership. We are open for collaborations. Feel free to come to our offices or contact us if there need to be anything that you want to do with us. I also say, look out, we are about to put up our correction factors for all the sensors that we have evaluated, which will be free to use. We've also started our second cohort of evaluations, so we have close to 10 new sensors that we are evaluating. We are also open to local manufacturers who are trying to develop their own local sensors. We help them to calibrate. And any other group that wants to access the facility, we are open. I said this somewhere and people started to get jittery. But to sustain the project, we are also going to look at how to monetize some of our activities. And so we will let you know when the right time comes. So on this note, I say a big thank you to the panelists, and then I will invite Nancy to come and do us the honor, and then tell us whether our lunch is prepared. We will do a tour for so there will be a tour for our foreign participants, just to look at our beautiful campus, so that you go back to see how beautiful University of Ghana looks. It's very green, and we have very interesting places here. So thank you. Nancy, please come in.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay. I start by thanks all trainer and facilitators during this workshop. I discovered many tools during this workshop, and today Mrs. Moss helped us to understand what is Amazon Web Service and how this tool can help us to storage data and compute data online, and so on. After this, she helped us to make register and some tests. And Mr. Apo and Madam Apo also talked about us the air quality management and air quality regulators. So I understand that it's very important to invite air quality policy in West Africa for best AQ monitoring. Okay, thank you very much.
So first of all, I would like to thank God for making this day possible, for this week possible to be here. And I would also like to thank the Provost for the College of Basic and Applied Sciences, the Dean of the School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences, Mr. Desmond Appiah, who is the country lead for Clean Air Fund Ghana, representatives from the U.S. Embassy in Accra, the CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority, Amazon Web Services, Columbia University, our dedicated facilitators from East and West Africa, India, and the United States, our participants, and everyone who contributed to this workshop. We are most grateful. On behalf of the Afri-SET team, I extend my deepest gratitude for your time, commitment, and meaningful contribution to making this workshop a success. Over the past few days, we have shared knowledge and engaged in hands-on training and explored cutting-edge solutions for air quality monitoring and data analysis. Your expertise and enthusiasm have truly enriched this experience, and we are very, very thankful for that. A special thank you to organizing partners, speakers, and facilitators for your dedication to sharing your knowledge and ensuring impactful sessions. To our participants, your engagement and curiosity also have inspired and are inspiring, and we hope that this experience empowers you to apply what you have learned over the course of the week in your respective fields. We deeply appreciate the support from all institutions and organizations that made this workshop possible, and we look forward to continued partnerships to advance clean air initiatives and environmental research. We thank you once again, and we hope to stay connected as we work forward towards a future of better air quality. Safe travels to all those journeying back home, and we look forward to meeting you once again. Please, I will entreat with all of you to please fill out the evaluation form that I have posted in your WhatsApp groups and your emails. Please do that for us, because it will help us know how best this organization went. We thank you so much, and lunch is ready.
Thank you so much, Nancy. And lunch is served. After lunch, there's going to be a tour of the university campus. One more announcement. So after this course, what we are going to do is to create a massive open online course where you can enroll and get certificates at the end of the day. It's part of the whole program, but that will be an online course. So once it's set up, like Dr. Hugh said, keep watching out on our website. We will advertise so you can enroll. Thank you so much for being here. And then I would invite Mr. Cosmos Wemegah to give us the closing prayer for the workshop.
We pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Father, we thank you for the grace you've given us so far. We thank you for the blessings, for the guidance. We thank you for the life that you've given us. As we close from today's section and the whole program, we pray that you take us to our destination safely. We pray that you continue to open our minds and hearts, that with the passion that we came here with, we will leave it same and continue with our programs the same, so that we will bring a lot of impact into our community. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen.